Today marks 82 years since the attack on Pearl Harbor. And during its annual ceremony, the USS Midway Museum honored all of those who lost their lives.
CBS 8's Kelly Hessedall talked to family members of a Pearl Harbor survivor. She joins us live from the USS Midway Museum with their message. Kelly.
That's right, and the Schenkelberg family is local. Their father, Clayton Schenkelberg, passed away in 2021. He was 103 years old, and his family says they just want people to remember.
To remember this day, it was a large part of who my dad was.
Every time I look at that picture, he was an amazing man. There was a reason why they called them the greatest generation. They did what they did for their country. And he was an amazing father who we miss so much.
I'd love just people to remember the history, the selflessness that every veteran had, the humbleness they had.
Bow your heads and let us pray for our departed shipmates who are now serving on the staff of the Supreme Commander.
And so you saw the two-bell ceremony honoring the Pearl Harbor survivors who have passed away. We also watched the wreath-laying ceremony and the missing man flyover. All annual traditions out here at the USS Midway Museum to honor those who served on this day 82 years ago when Pearl Harbor was attacked. Now, we heard the story today of mess cook Doris Miller, who risked his life and helped bring wounded sailors to safety. He was the first Black American to receive the Navy Cross for heroism. Schenkelberg's family tells me these stories are important. They're part of our history, and it's sad only a handful of survivors are still with us to tell them.
There are stories that nobody's ever going to get to hear again because they're not here to tell it. And they're stories that you don't read in books or you see in silly movies. They're real stories of how they survived, and that's what is sad to me, is that those stories are largely lost.
And you could tell just by talking to his family how proud they were of their father. Now, he lived a very long time. He survived 2 pandemics, and he passed away just before his 104th birthday. Marcella and Carlo.
Love seeing the pride and love in those comments. Did Clayton Schenkelberg's family talk about Pearl Harbor a lot to them when they were growing up?
Yeah, and that was something I asked, and his son told me no, absolutely not, that it wasn't until they were adults and when their dad started getting involved with these Pearl Harbor survivor groups that he really started opening up and sharing his story. They say, he did get to take that honor flight a few years back. He was 100 years old when it happened, and they said that the experience was absolutely incredible.
And his legacy lives on, the story lives on, and it's so important that we all remember. Thanks so much, Kelly.